Okay, so let's be real. You're probably here because the idea of us living, off-world is kind of more than just science fiction to you.
It is pretty captivating, isn't it?
It really is. And I think the big question everyone's kind of wondering is, where do we go first?
Right.
The moon or Mars?
It's a question that I think has more facets than like a well-cut diamond.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not just about the technical hurdles. It's about like humanity's long-term survival and the resources we might be able to access.
Right.
And, what kind of society we might build out there.
Right. And for this deep dive, we've got some really good source material.
Absolutely.
Like Moon versus Mars, humanity's space colonization debate.
Right.
Plus, some of Elon Musk's statements about becoming a multiplanetary species.
Yeah.
This is going to be fun.
Yeah, before we get lost in Martian sunsets and lunar lava tubes, though,
oh yeah,
we need to kind of address like the elephant in the room.
Mm-hmm.
Why are we even thinking about packing our bags for other planets?
Yeah, it's not like we're running out of space here.
Well, and that's the thing, though, right?
Yeah.
Overpopulation, changing climate, resource depletion. These are real, tangible pressures on our planet.
Uh-huh.
So, space colonization, it might be less about exploration and more about ensuring that humanity has a future period.
Wow. So it's like an insurance policy.
Yeah.
For the species.
Yeah.
That's kind of scary.
It is. But, I mean, Elon Musk has said, if we don't become multiplanetary, we're basically putting all of our eggs in one very fragile basket.
Right.
He has a point.
Yeah.
But, all doom and gloom aside, there's something very human about exploring. Right?
Yeah.
That drive to see what's over the horizon, to push the limits of what we know and what we can do.
Totally. And we've always got to be pushing further, whether it's like Magellan sailing around the globe or, Hillary conquering Everest. It's like space is the next logical step.
Exactly. But let's say we accept that leaving Earth is necessary.
Okay.
The real debate begins. Moon or Mars first?
So if we're talking practicality, the moon just seems like the obvious choice.
Right.
It's 3 days away.
Right.
We could be back home for a long weekend if we wanted to.
Yeah, exactly. That proximity is a huge plus.
Yeah.
Not just for, convenience, but think about the reduced risk and the cost compared to a, months-long Martian journey.
Yeah.
It's almost like a practice run for the main event.
Yeah, like a training ground.
Exactly.
To get a feel for what it's like to live and work on another world.
Exactly.
But does the moon have anything else to offer besides just being conveniently close?
Well, more than meets the eye, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Remember helium-3?
Okay, yeah.
It's an isotope that's incredibly rare here on Earth, but it's abundant on the moon.
Okay.
I mean, we're talking about the potential for a revolutionary energy source.
Wow.
Especially when we consider the possibility of fusion power.
Fusion power from the moon, that would be a game changer.
Right.
But how realistic is that, though? I mean, we've been talking about fusion power on Earth forever.
Yeah.
And it still feels like more science fiction than reality.
You're not wrong.
Yeah.
Fusion is a tough nut to crack, but the potential payoff is huge.
Right.
And having access to helium-3 on the moon could give us that fuel we need to solve some of our energy challenges. Plus, there's the matter of water ice.
You mean like for making moon ice cream?
Well, maybe one day, but I'm thinking more like for life support and rocket fuel.
Okay.
It turns out those permanently shadowed craters at the lunar poles, they're packed with water ice.
Oh, wow.
We could break that down into hydrogen and oxygen, creating a sort of lunar gas station for further exploration.
That's really clever.
Yeah.
And I bet that factors into NASA's Artemis program, right?
Absolutely.
They're aiming for that permanent lunar base by the 2030s, aren't they?
Exactly. They see the moon as this crucial stepping stone for depth space exploration. Right. But let's not forget about Mars.
Right.
The red planet, the potential for life. That whole Earth 2.0 vibe.
There's definitely a romanticism to Mars that the moon just doesn't have.
Sure.
I mean, the moon is practically our next door neighbor.
Yeah, it's right there.
But Mars feels like a whole new world.
Right.
Full of mystery and possibility.
I get that.
Yeah.
And Mars does offer some intriguing advantages.
Okay. Like what?
Well, for one, its gravity is much closer to Earth's than the moon's.
Oh, okay. So we wouldn't end up with brittle bones and atrophied muscles from hanging out on Mars for too long.
Right, exactly.
That's good.
Yeah.
But what about the radiation?
Yeah.
Wouldn't we be exposed to all that?
Radiation is definitely a concern.
Right.
but Mars's atmosphere.
Okay.
Then, though, it does offer some protection. Plus, there are potential solutions like building habitats underground.
Okay.
Or using Martian soil for shielding.
Okay, so we might not turn into walking X-rays on Mars. But what about that whole terraforming thing?
Yeah.
Isn't that just a pipe dream?
Well, terraforming is definitely a long-term complex endeavor. I mean, we'd be talking about thickening the atmosphere, warming the planet, and potentially introducing vegetation.
Right.
But let's not underestimate human ingenuity.
That's true.
We've done some pretty incredible things when we set our minds to it.
Yeah, humans are pretty good at figuring stuff out.
Right.
But even if we could terraform Mars, how long would that even take?
Yeah.
Hundreds of years.
That wouldn't happen overnight.
No.
That's for sure.
Thousands of years.
But even if we don't achieve full-blown terraforming, there are still ways to make Mars more habitable. We could create enclosed biodomes, for example, where we could grow food and create self-sustaining ecosystems.
They're like little pockets of Earth on Mars.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. And while the moon might be good for a base or an outpost, Mars has the potential to support large self-sustaining colonies.
You know, we're talking about building a new society from the ground up.
A whole new Martian civilization.
It is a wild thought.
Yeah.
But it's not entirely out of the realm of possibility.
Right.
Of course, none of this is easy.
Yeah.
The journey to Mars alone is a massive undertaking.
Yeah. A 6 to 9 month trip one way.
Yeah.
I get claustrophobic just thinking about it.
It would be the ultimate test of human endurance, both physically and psychologically.
Yeah.
But remember, we're not just talking about sending a few astronauts on a quick mission.
Right. The goal is to establish a permanent presence on Mars.
Exactly.
Right. A new home for humanity.
Yeah. And that's where the challenges and the opportunities become truly mind-boggling.
Well, on that note, I think it's time to take a closer look at who's leading the charge in this cosmic race.
Absolutely.
Who are the major players trying to get us off-world?
It used to be just nations, but now we've got private companies like SpaceX making huge waves.
Yeah, it's a whole new era of space exploration.
It really is.
You've got the established agencies like NASA with their Artemis program and that goal of a lunar base we talked about. But then you've got Elon Musk and SpaceX with Starship and this almost audacious vision of a Martian city within our lifetime.
It's pretty wild.
It's amazing how much SpaceX has shaken things up.
Yeah.
I remember when they first landed a rocket booster back on Earth.
Oh, yeah.
It felt like the whole world was wet.
I know. That reusability factor is key.
Yeah.
It dramatically reduces the cost of space travel, which opens up possibilities for everyone, not just governments with massive budgets.
Speaking of budgets, what kind of resources are we even talking about here?
Right.
Is it even feasible to think about building a self-sustaining colony on Mars, financially speaking?
It's definitely a long-term investment. There's no question about that.
Yeah.
But think about the potential returns.
Okay.
Not just in terms of resources or scientific knowledge, but in terms of what it could do for humanity as a whole. You know, it would push innovation.
Right.
Create new industries, inspire generations to come.
Yeah, it's almost like an investment in our futures as a species.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And let's not forget the potential for international collaboration.
Oh, right. Yeah.
It's not just the U.S. and China anymore. The UAE has sent probes to Mars.
Right.
The European Space Agency is working on Martian rovers.
Okay.
And there are countless other countries contributing to this global effort.
It really does feel like a united front, a shared goal for humanity.
Absolutely.
Okay, so back to our main question.
Okay.
Moon or Mars first?
Right.
You've laid out some pretty compelling arguments for both.
I've tried.
You have. Where do you stand?
Oh, it's tricky.
Yeah.
It's like choosing between two incredible opportunities.
So you're not going to give me a straight answer.
I'm afraid not. It's not about picking a winner.
Okay.
The reality is both the moon and Mars offer unique advantages.
Yeah.
And they're not mutually exclusive.
Oh, so you're saying we could or even should pursue both?
Imagine a lunar base serving as a launch pad for Martian missions.
Okay.
We could assemble and test spacecraft on the moon, use its resources for fuel, and take advantage of its lower gravity to reduce the energy needed for launches.
Yeah, that's pretty clever.
Yeah.
So instead of viewing it as competition, we can see it as a stepping stone approach.
Exactly.
We learn from the moon and apply those lessons to Mars.
Precisely. It's about building our capabilities, our knowledge, and our confidence. And let's not forget the psychological aspect.
Right.
Living on the moon, even for a short period, would give us valuable data on how humans adapt to long-duration spaceflight and living in confined environments.
It's like a trial run for the challenges of Mars.
Exactly. And who knows, maybe in the process of exploring the moon, we'll discover something that completely changes the game.
Like what?
Like a new energy source, evidence of ancient life.
Wow.
It's impossible to say for sure.
Yeah.
It's the beauty of exploration, isn't it?
Right.
The unknown is full of surprises.
That's very exciting. But are there any downsides to this both-and approach?
Of course, it would require significant resources, international cooperation, and a long-term commitment. There's also the risk that spreading our efforts too thin could delay progress on both fronts.
So it's a balancing act.
Yeah.
Weighing the benefits against the risks.
Exactly. And ultimately, the decision of how to proceed will involve a complex mix of scientific, economic, and political factors.
It's a reminder that space exploration isn't just about rockets and robots.
No.
It's a reflection of who we are as a society and what we prioritize.
You've hit the nail on the head. It's about our values, our aspirations, and our vision for the future of humanity.
And on that note, I think it's a good time to shift gears a bit and talk about the broader implications of space exploration. So we've talked about, the practicalities, the challenges, and even the economic side of, heading to the moon or Mars. But what about the bigger picture? What does all of this mean for humanity in the long run?
That's where things get really interesting. I mean, we're not just talking about, building habitats and mining resources. We're talking about expanding the very definition of what it means to be human.
Whoa. You're saying that going to space will fundamentally change us?
I think so.
As a species?
I mean, think about it. Every time humans have ventured into a new frontier, it's reshaped our understanding of ourselves and our place in the world.
Okay.
Crossing oceans, exploring continents, pushing into the air, and then beyond. Space is like the ultimate frontier. And it's bound to have a profound impact on our culture, our philosophy, even our art.
It's hard to wrap your head around how exactly it'll change us, though.
I know.
Do you have any ideas?
We'll take art, for instance.
Okay.
Imagine the inspiration that artists will draw from, like Martian landscapes or the silence of the lunar surface. We could see entirely new art forms emerge that we can't even conceive of right now.
That's so cool. It's like a whole new wave of space art. Inspired by the experiences of those who've actually been there.
Exactly. Yeah.
What about on a more societal level, though?
Oh, yeah.
What could we see there?
I mean, think about the challenges of building a colony on Mars.
Okay.
It would demand radical cooperation, resourcefulness, and a level of problem solving that we haven't really seen before. Those experiences could lead to new forms of governance, new ways of interacting with each other, and even a renewed sense of shared purpose.
So it's not just about the destination.
No.
It's about the journey itself. And how it changes us along the way.
Yeah, and those changes could have ripple effects back here on Earth.
Oh, wow.
Leading to innovations and solutions to problems we haven't even encountered yet.
So it's almost like space exploration is a catalyst.
I think so.
For human evolution.
Yeah, it forces us to think differently. To push beyond our comfort zones. To adapt and innovate. And in that process, we discover new potential within ourselves.
I'm starting to see why this is so much bigger than just picking between the moon and Mars. It's about pushing the boundaries of what's possible. Both for humanity and for ourselves as individuals.
That's the spirit. And that brings us back to you, our listeners. Where do you sit into this grand adventure?
This is where we invite you to dive even deeper.
Yes.
Don't just take our word for it.
No.
Go explore those sources that we mentioned. Check out NASA's website. Read up on SpaceX's plans. Dig into the research being done by universities and space agencies all around the world.
Absolutely. There are incredible resources available online. From detailed mission plans to scientific papers on everything.
Wow.
From terraforming to the psychological effects of long-duration spaceflight.
And as you learn more, you might find yourself gravitating toward Team Moon. or Team Mars.
Yeah.
Or maybe you'll develop a whole new perspective
Sure.
on this whole cosmic debate.
The point is to engage with the ideas.
Yeah.
Challenge your own assumptions and form your own informed opinion.
Because this isn't just a conversation for scientists and engineers.
No.
It's a conversation for all of us.
Absolutely.
You know, the future of space exploration is something we decide together as a species.
Exactly. So keep asking questions.
Yes.
Keep learning and keep dreaming big. Yeah. Because the cosmos is vast and the possibilities are truly endless.
And on that note, we've reached the end of our deep dive.
We have.
Into the moon versus Mars debate.
It's been a fascinating journey exploring, you know, the scientific, technological, and even the philosophical implications of humanity's next giant leap.
We've learned that it's not just about choosing a destination.
Right.
It's about embracing the challenge.
Yeah.
Of pushing beyond our limits and discovering what we're truly capable of.
Absolutely.
And whether we set our sights on the moon or Mars or even further out into the unknown, one thing is certain. The spirit of exploration will continue to drive us forward.
It will.
So keep looking up.
Yes.
Keep dreaming big.
Please.
And keep exploring, because the universe is waiting and the adventure has only just begun. Okay, so we've talked about the practicalities and the challenges, you know, even the economic side of heading to the moon or Mars. But what about the bigger picture? Like, what does all this mean for humanity, you know, in the long run?
Well, that's where things get really interesting, because we're not just talking about building habitats and mining resources.
Right.
We're talking about like expanding the very definition of what it means to be human.
Oh, wow. So you're saying that going to space will fundamentally change us?
I think it will, yeah.
As a species?
Yeah. Think about it. Like every time humans have ventured into a new frontier, it's kind of reshaped our understanding of ourselves and our place in the world.
Right.
You know, crossing oceans, exploring continents, pushing into the air, and then beyond.
Right.
Space is like the ultimate frontier.
Yeah.
And it's bound to have like a really profound impact on our culture, our philosophy, even our art.
That's crazy. It's hard to wrap your head around how exactly it will change us, though.
I know.
Like, any ideas?
We'll take art, for instance.
Okay.
Imagine like the inspiration that artists will draw from Martian landscapes or the silence of the lunar surface. I mean, we could see entirely new art forms emerge that we can't even conceive of right now.
Wow, that's so cool. Like a whole new wave of space art.
Right.
Inspired by, like, you know, the experiences of those who've actually been there.
Exactly. Yeah.
What about on a more like societal level, though?
Oh, yeah.
What can we see there?
Well, think about like the challenges of actually building a colony on Mars.
Okay.
It would demand like radical cooperation, resourcefulness, and a level of problem solving that we haven't really seen before.
Right.
You know, those experiences could lead to new forms of governance, new ways of interacting with each other.
Right.
And even like a renewed sense of shared purpose as a species.
So it's not just about the destination.
No.
It's about the journey itself.
Right.
And how it changes us along the way.
Exactly. And those changes could have ripple effects back here on Earth.
Wow.
You know, leading to innovations and solutions to problems we haven't even encountered yet.
So it's almost like space exploration is a catalyst.
Yeah, I think so.
For human evolution.
Yeah, it forces us to think differently, to push beyond our comfort zones, to adapt and innovate.
Right.
And in that process, we discover like new potential within ourselves.
Wow. I'm starting to see why this is so much bigger than just picking between the moon and Mars.
Right.
It's about pushing the boundaries of what's possible for humanity and for ourselves as individuals.
That's the spirit.
Yeah.
And that kind of brings us back to you, our listeners.
Right.
Where do you fit into this grand adventure?
This is where we invite you to dive even deeper.
Yeah.
Don't just take our word for it. Go explore, you know, those sources that we mentioned.
Please.
Check out NASA's website. Read up on SpaceX's plans.
Yeah.
Dig into the research being done by universities and space agencies all around the world.
Absolutely. There are incredible resources available online.
Yeah.
You know, from detailed mission plans to like scientific papers on everything, from terraforming to the psychological effects of long duration spaceflight.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And as you learn more, you might find yourself gravitating toward Team Moon or Team Mars.
Right.
Or maybe you'll develop a whole new perspective on this whole cosmic debate.
Yeah, the point is to engage with the ideas,
right.
Challenge your assumptions, and form your own informed opinion.
Because this isn't just a conversation for scientists and engineers.
It's not, no.
It's a conversation for all of us.
Absolutely.
The future of space exploration is something we decide together.
Exactly. So keep asking questions. Keep learning.
Yeah.
And keep dreaming big.
Keep dreaming big.
Yeah. Because the cosmos is vast.
It is.
And the possibilities are truly endless.
Well, on that note, we've reached the end of our deep dive into the moon versus Mars debate.
Yeah, it's been a really fun journey.
It has.
Exploring, the scientific, the technological, even the philosophical implications.
It's been amazing.
With humanity's next giant leap.
And we've learned that it's not just about choosing a destination.
Right.
It's about embracing the challenge of pushing beyond our limits.
Yeah.
And discovering what we're truly capable of as a species. And whether we set our sights on the moon, Mars, or even further out into the unknown, one thing is certain, the spirit of exploration will continue to drive us forward.
I think so.
So keep looking up, keep dreaming big, and keep exploring, because the universe is waiting and the adventure has only just begun.